So what we've been doing is doing strategic planning, so making sure that these things get embedded into what we do, where we actually map out our vision for the next 5 years for council. So in many ways that's what's been happening, is actually setting in place a strategic plan with some really clear priorities, visions and values attached to those, that will then actually influence the budget. I mean, so then the next step is you have a budget which you approve in early July, which will then attach money to each of those priorities, and that's when you start to see these things happen. So in many ways, it's a response to Peter's question, and one of the things I've learned is patience. Is that, you know, just because you're elected to a position like this, ultimately it's very hard just to do things in a big bureaucracy quickly. It's about turning a ship around, a big ship, and pointing it in a direction which it actually can result in the outcomes around sustainability, around affordability, around a more livable city that we want to focus on. And I'm pretty confident that we've got the groundwork in place to make that happen. I mean, there's certainly a lot of that communication you hope is coming through the local newspaper and those kind of things. Yeah, and I guess my predecessor was accused of being too media focused and not enough substance because of that. You're too busy about trying to, you know, manage the message. I guess I didn't want to repeat those mistakes, so I'll be much more about just getting the job done and not actually worrying about what people say. but I think you got to get that balance right, and I suspect I think it's not hard to communicate that, and I think probably around this strategic plan we're going to be really clear about how we do communicate it. It's an interesting one because it's frustrating. I think it may actually see us get a less innovative outcome because it takes all the discretion away from councils. Because we're no longer the decision-making body. We have to trust that some state government appointed body is able to make better decisions than we are. And I guess that's a big ask for a local government authority. And I feel very comfortable putting in discretion, saying, look, if your building's an innovative design, a sustainable design, we'll give you extra height. But if I think I'm not making that choice, but some anonymous appointed person is, then it's very hard for me to leave that discretion in.
Yeah, and is that a dead cert or is it a maybe? Is that law kind of...
It's gone to Parliament today. Yeah. And the Liberal government has control of both houses, so it's pretty well certainty. To be honest with you, there's majority support for this because there's enough recalcitrant conservative local governments that actually create a compelling logic for such an approach. Fremantle's not one of those, and it's a bit frustrating for me that we got caught up in that process. But anyway, my view is we'll work with it, and we'll still make it happen. It just makes it more difficult.
Just getting back to the East End development and the whole issue of affordability. When I was having this chat to Bruce, he said that his 90 square apartment would cost $400,000 to build.
Yep, excluding land.
Excluding land,
and land's $3,000 a square metre.
I mean, is there any room in any of this for some really innovative stuff, like people building their own places or building them in a different way? Or
I think we have to. I mean, we have to, because current building construction techniques are making it even tempting to get small units, higher places. They're still very expensive. I mean, $400,000 is not affordable for the average person.
Well, not when you've got to add in land.
Yeah, so that means it probably sells for $550 or
Yeah.
$600.
Yeah.
That's a very big loan. I mean, I couldn't afford that. That's the truth. I mean, no, not.
500 or 600.
Yeah, I couldn't afford a loan like that if I had to go and borrow it.
So.
Yeah, so it's really frustrating. So I think it's a really interesting point about, can we start to use different kinds of materials and different kinds of building techniques to create innovative, cheaper buildings? Can we use old buildings out of old sea containers? And those kinds of things that actually could create something really interesting. Okay, I mean, this is one of the classic ones. It's a good idea, reduces carbon emissions, it saves the council money, it's a no-brainer. It's got stuck in the bureaucracy. Thank you for reminding me. I'll be pushing on that again very shortly. Yeah, so this is one of those classic cases of where we do feel like occasionally you're shoveling mud uphill a little bit. Yeah. But that's all right. That's, it's just been good for me. I mean, I'm like, okay, this is what it's like, and you need to know how do you work with this and how do you get outcomes despite it. This is an interesting interview because what it does show is that, how things that should be straightforward and easy are just sometimes just impossibly hard, and well, not impossibly hard, just much more challenging than you might think, and get kind of life sucked out of them a little bit by the bureaucratic process. But that's just the way it is, and I'm learning to work out what I can change and what I can't.